Hello and welcome to this route building Trainz stream. Last time we did some work on the Milton Valley Railroad, and that's where we'll continue. So I'll just switch over to the game now. And this is what we did last time. 1 second. We worked on the railway coming up from here, coming up the grade, and then going over to this junction and continuing along this valley. So let's just continue here then. Okay. So I'm kind of picturing the track to take a left turn here, so the valley to follow along, and maybe get a bit wider here as well. So if this curves around here, then we'll probably need a width of 2 baseboards here, carrying along the valley down in this direction, sort of. So I'll lay the track first, and then we'll work on the terrain around that. And last time, if you don't know, we found out that this track has a very low clipping distance, so as you can see the track is no longer being displayed back there. So what I'm doing instead is I'm using a different track that has a longer clipping distance when I'm making the actual grade, and then later I'll go in and replace it using the bulk asset replace tool. Let's see which one's a good one. The orange tracks, I think. Let's see. Yeah, this one looks good. So let's see, what grade did we use here? Gradient 1.9, about just under 2%. Let's see, how far up are we? Okay. I think we should maybe lower the grade a bit for the curve, maybe down to 1.3%. And then let's make the curve. Also, a thing to keep in mind is that at the moment we are using single track mainline, which means that we'll need passing loops every mile or so, maybe every 2 miles. Let's see. Yeah, that's quite a gentle curve here. Maybe, no, I think it's good. Okay, so here, let's then increase the grade a little bit more after the curve to maybe 1.7, let's say. And we'll have the track continue along the valley. Now, how does that look? I think it looks okay. If we imagine the mountain peak coming up this side and also curving around out here. Sorry. Okay, so now let's start working on the terrain. Okay, so first what I'll do is I'll kind of increase the height to roughly where the tracks are, and then we'll go from there. And for this I'm using the plateau tool, because the plateau tool gives kind of smoother edges. Okay. Now let's see. I'll kind of just flatten this out here. For this it might be worth switching to the set height tool. Ah, yeah, that makes it much quicker. Okay. I'll just smooth this out a little bit so we can have a smooth base to start working on the peak. Or rather, slope, I think, because it's not actually the peak of the mountain. Okay. No, let's undo that. Also, I'm kind of picturing this railroad handling mostly freight, so in this case lumber and grain hoppers, maybe a bit of boxcar as well. So it's worth thinking about when we should have the first industry along the track. So I'm kind of thinking that in the mountains uphill are going to be the raw cargo producers, so the actual forest trees, and I'm not sure about the grain hoppers, the farms. Maybe we should have those more downhill in the valley. That might make more sense than in the mountain. Or maybe the other side of the mountain, depends on how large this route will get. And anyway, for the log, I'm thinking that the lumber and pulp mills, or yeah, mills, plural probably, is going to be at the base of the hill, or of the mountains, so that we'll have these heavy loaded timber trains coming down the incline, coming down the mountain, because that's going to be a bit challenging to drive. Okay. So now just set the height to the height of the valley here, because we can't go any deeper than that in this part of the valley, because usually valleys are created by water flow, even if there isn't a river here at the moment. But this is still going to be kind of the lowest point of the valley here. Okay. This is where I'd appreciate a bigger brush size. Okay. And we'll get into making the scenery of this area a bit later, after the second slope has been put in place. I'm not sure, I don't think I need to do the entire area over here. I think we'll do that with plateau tool later. So, for making this other slope here, I think it's going to be best if we make just a huge pillar, how high we want the slope to be. So I'm thinking maybe sort of this height for the tallest point, and then we'll have this tapering off. So what we can do now is use the plateau tool and then go from the top of this point and then start making more land like this. And then we already have a high point from which the slope can go down, so we don't need to layer the slope on top of each other like we would need to do if we used the sorry, the height up tool. So I'm just getting sort of the basic shape of the slope down now. Oh, and by the way, these streams are going to be archived on our YouTube channel. So it's just Charadice, the same as the Twitch account name, if you're interested. Okay, so how does that look from a height point of view? Well, I think that looks good. Okay, so now let's see. because this needs to connect up to this part of the valley. So this needs to get from all the way down here to all the way up here as well. So I'm just now making this connection, as you can see. Also, when the route is finished eventually, I will also be doing some live streams on session creation, because there are quite some interesting things you can do with the session rules. For example, you can use the layer, because there is a session rule that, and if you didn't know, session rules are kind of like a scripting language in a way. There is a session rule that allows you to turn on and off layers. So with that you can do interesting things, like for example, you can have a ghost on the tracks, and then when the train gets close, you can have a trigger on the track, and then have the layer that the ghost object is on be turned off. So when the player drives the train, it will appear like the ghost has vanished just before the train hits it. That's just one example. Okay, so how does that look? Still needs some more work, but we can get this exactly how we want later. Now I'll work on the other side of the slope. So for this, I'm just kind of going to start off by dragging the tallest point along, and well, it's finished. I mean, yeah, ready to be ready to be put up for sale. Okay, so yeah. Okay. Now if we go along here, again, I kind of want the two slopes to meet in the middle of the valley. I don't want this plateau here. So this slope will need to come in a bit more. Sorry. Okay. Now let's see. I think this is sort of a good point for the slopes to meet. So if we now just smooth this side out a little, maybe lower this a bit, I think that's a good point, and I'll save. So let's see. Just making this come down here. Let's see, how does that look? Yeah, still very, very bumpy. But once we smooth it out, I think it'll look good. Okay. So I think that's sort of good for the main shape of the mountainside. Sorry. Now we just need to smooth out all of these bumps. Okay. Now let's see. With these kinds of large-scale projects, and by this I mean the mountain, it can be helpful to work from further away, so that you see how the small changes affect the whole thing, and not just the small areas themselves. And we won't see many of these little bumps anyway, because this is going to be covered in forest. So we don't need to get it completely smooth. Just save again. Yeah, I need to smooth out the peak a little, because there is this drop back here, and you could kind of see it from down here. Okay, just a little bit more on this transition area. Okay, and soon we'll move over to painting, and then to making the actual scenery for this. Okay, so let's see. Now, how does that look? With the exception of a few small areas, I think it looks good. Maybe this could be a bit smoother. And this area back here. Okay. Okay. So, now back over to this kind of area. This already looks quite good, but again, the same that from last episode, when the player's going along here on a train and they want to look at the valley, they're going to turn the camera this way, and with the terrain right up against the tracks, it's going to turn the camera down. So if we want the player to actually be able to look at the valley, then we have to kind of make the terrain either side of the track, the slope, a bit further away, is basically what I'm saying, so that there's enough space for the camera to move. I mean, unless you're planning that on having your route played in cab mode, but by cab mode I mean actually from the interior view, not realistic mode, in which case that probably won't be that big of a problem. Okay, now let's align the terrain to the track. Okay, so Yeah, we need to put the terrain down a bit more here, because the camera will get caught on these hills. Sorry. That's interesting. It's put this little dent in here. Maybe this could be an interesting area for a little cut, so that kind of the hillside came down here, and then they had to build the curve around this way because otherwise it would have been too sharp. So let's do that. Just use the height up tool to make this kind of outcropping here. Maybe it's a bit too tall, we'll see. 1 second. Need to smooth it out a little. Now we'll align the terrain again. Oh, that looks good. Then we'll come out here, and this sort of filled up area should be a bit smoother, not this sharp an angle. So about this. I think this looks good. Pardon me. So then we'll go down here. This needs to be a bit high on this side because this shouldn't really be that filled up, because the track would have plenty of space to snake along the terrain. Okay, then we'll continue along here, smooth this bit out here, and here's somewhere where I'll put the terrain up here because it's further down. So let's do it like this. Is that okay? Oh yes, that's just the other track again. Coming across here. And then going over here. I think that's good. So now let's replace the track with the one that we are actually using. So I'm going to use the bulk replace tool. Assets to update. This one please, and this one. No, we don't want, we're still selected. Just this one to update. And then get this one to update with. So here we go. Track's updated. Okay, now let's do the painting. Well, first I'll save. As the base ground texture, I'm going to use the grass. So, use anywhere on root. Here we go. And then we'll do the, let's see, what will make sense. I guess it makes sense if, yeah, we should do the forests now, and then we'll do the texture underneath later. Yeah. And I've got two areas of forests if you're new. I've got a denser kind of forest that's closer to the track and a less dense kind of forest that's further away. And in this corner here, I've got an unchanged area of dense forest, which is just here so that I can copy it basically without having without having trees that have been removed or changed because of where the track was where it copied from. So now let's see. Okay, so we'll go along here, and we'll go over here. I'm not sure how much forest I'll want on the lower side of the track. We'll see. Okay, so like this. Now let's put the less dense forest on. I'll just grab some from over here. And start pasting. And we can cut a bit of the dense forest off as well, because it's going quite far uphill here, and the tracks are quite far away. You won't be able to see a lot of detail when it's going uphill this far. Okay. We just need to place forests where the player is likely going to see the hillside. So for example, we won't need to place forests down here. So let's see. This looks okay. So now we'll do this here. We'll kind of see where the forest should kind of go down to. Because the way I'm picturing this, there is kind of a non-forested area at the bottom of this valley. Like usually you'd find if there's a river there, but I don't really want to have any water down here. And yes, this amount of trees lags surprisingly little. Mostly because these trees are using billboards when you zoom in. So a trick you can see if trees are using billboards or not, which are basically 2D trees that are always facing the camera, is if you turn the camera all the way up, so you're looking straight at them, if they disappear, they're using billboards. So if I'm zooming in, you can see that the trees are appearing, and that's the trees slowly transitioning to the 3D models. So if I zoom out now, you can see them disappearing. Now they're using billboards. Okay, now let's see how this looks. Okay, so we're coming down here, going along this valley, curving along here, going through the cut, and then going up here. That's okay. So now I'm just looking at this area, because here we've got some denser forest, and I'm thinking that we might need a little transition area. So I'm just going to copy and paste a little bit of the denser forest to sort of go up here along this edge, because this is still quite close to the tracks. Sort of up until here, I think is good. And now let's sorry. Now let's just start working on clearing away some of the trees. And with the trees, it's the same thing as with the terrain. That if you want for example, if you want the player to look over to the right and they're driving a train down here, so they turn the camera and then you get tree camera. Yeah, so if you want the player to look in a particular direction, you need to make sure that there aren't any trees, or at least any tall trees, close to the tracks there. Okay, so we'll kind of go along here, move this tree back a bit. Go along here. That's all okay. This is a bit close. But I didn't want to delete that one. Actually, this one's fine. Maybe a bit back. I'm just gonna move a bit back. I want a big one. This one. There was a bigger one, wasn't there? Yes, this one's bigger. That's fine. Move this one back a bit. I think this one's gonna be maybe a bit in the way, because as we're coming up to this curve, the players may want to look over here into the valley, and then we need to give a bit more clear space as we enter the curve proper. Maybe just a bit back. And here we're entering the cutting, so we need to make sure that this is clear of trees, because there's going to be a rock face. Although up there, yeah, that's still too close, because they would keep that area clear of big trees. At least that close to the track, edge. Okay. I think if we move this back to be kind of in the center between these two trees, yeah, it's better framing. Oh, I also like this dead tree over here in this area. Maybe we could have it over there. Yeah, that looks nice. Oh, we don't need to delete that one. Maybe just move these back a bit. And here's where I'm going to start to cut back on the forest on the right a bit as well, so that the track goes back in the open, at least after, because I'm trying to stick to the curve of the hills, so that if there's a hill area like this where it's elevated, then I'm going to keep trees there. Nope, didn't want to delete those. Pardon me. So, how does that look? It's too cluttered. Now this area needs to be cleared of trees. It's just so that we can have a better view of the valley as we're coming down here. We want to be able to see the mountain clearly. If there are trees in the way, then we can't do that. Also, going along this way, then the camera's going to be stuck in the trees over here, so we need to get rid of some of the trees here. So now if the camera is sort of around here on the center of the train going by, these are still in the way, although I'll move these down instead a bit, because I do like the shrubs being here. So the camera's over here, you can see the mountain, and then we start to curve inwards, which is where the trees are back a bit in the way, although yeah, this is a bit close. Okay, so we'll come down here. I think we shouldn't have this many trees over here, just so that it's clearer where the cutting starts, which is sort of over there. So we come over here, and then the cutting begins here. Let's see, this tree needs to be moved up, not removed, moved a bit back. Sorry, one second. Oh, that's okay. It went by itself. Okay, so go along here, here, and then just along this way. Now just do one more quick flyby from this angle to see if things are looking good here. Yeah, I think everything's looking good. How about the forest? I think this could use a bit of cutting back, just because here you can see these right angle edges of where the pasting of the grid of the pasting, so it just looks a bit more organic if these edges are kind of smoothened out a bit by removing some of the trees. Or I suppose technically also adding trees, but that's much more time consuming. Okay. Just move this one to be a bit more over here. Okay. Now we need to move a few more trees over here, just so that we can more clearly look down along the valley from the beginning. Okay, that looks good. Sorry. So now I'll paint the forest underneath. Actually, no. No, I'll do the ballast first and then I'll do the forest. Okay. About this size, I think is good. Maybe, yeah, I think that's good. So then I'll just paint ballast. And I'll take a break from painting here, just so that if I make a mistake in the cutting, I'll be able to undo to that point. Okay, so now let's see. Is it too wide? Sorry. I think the ballast might be a bit too wide. Let's see how it was before. So over here, yeah, it's much closer in. Yes, you can see that the ballast down here, well, you should be able to see it on the map. Well, maybe not. But down here, it's much closer in, and then it gets much wider. So I'll need to do it again. Sorry. I'll just decrease the radius a little bit more. And now I'll do it again. Yeah, this looks much better. Again, I'll stop here so that I have a point to undo to, in case I make a mistake. Okay, now just a quick scan to see if there are any areas where the ballast is too thin. Kind of like here, a bit more on the left and on here, then we'll go down. Yeah, here as well. You can see that when you're looking further away, that the grass is almost at the track, and that's mainly due to when the game lags a bit when you're painting, then it paints less because there are less frames where the mouse is actually where it recognizes that the mouse is held down and you're painting. So you just need to retouch some of these areas. Maybe not that much. Down here a bit. Actually, no, I kind of like it here because that kind of breaks up the straightness of the painted ballast. Okay, this all looks good. Okay, that's good. Now let's do the forest painting. So first I'll start out with a bit of a smaller brush to go close to the track. So actually no, I missed one step. First we need to do the rock painting and then we'll do the forest painting for the cutting. Because this will, sorry, the rock will affect where the, oh, it's quite dark already. I'll leave it for a few minutes more and then I'll turn on the camera. Then I'll turn on the camera. No, I'll turn on the light. Okay, so as I was saying, this is going to have an effect on the, how far the forest texture will go. And I am kind of periodically changing the rotation of the texture, just so that we don't get as much of a pattern emerging. Okay, let's look over here, starting from down there. Now how's that? I think that looks good. Maybe just a tiny bit more rock down here. Going into there maybe. Kind of like that. Just a bit faint so you can still see the grass through it. Yeah, I think that looks good going this way. We need a bit more here as well. Maybe not that far, like this. Just a little bit down here. That looks good, but we'll need to move this tree back a bit now that the rock's so close. Pardon me. And that looks good. Now we'll get to the forest. But first, I'll save. So, as I said before, I'll use a kind of a bit of a smaller brush when I'm close to the tracks, just so that I have more control over how much of the actual grass texture is still left between the forest and the tracks. Just trying to keep to the tree line. Which is a bit difficult, considering that Trainz seems to be lagging a bit at the moment. And again, I'll let go, and then click and hold again, just so that I have an undo point, like I said before. Okay, so now let's have a look if it's too close or too far away anywhere. I'll just quickly deselect the paint tool. Okay, yeah, it's too far away here because the trees go right up to the tracks, so we do need this to be a bit closer here. That looks okay. Bit closer here. Also here. This is fine. Just a little bit closer here. I think we'll need to move this tree back a bit because currently it's growing out of the ballast. Pardon me. So, down here, a bit more there. Yeah, I'll just paint just a very small amount of grass along this area, just to again sort of break up the straightness of the ballast. Also a bit more here. Maybe a bit less more here. Okay, now let's go back to the forest. No, like that. It's over here. Now how did it turn out in the cut? I think we need just a little bit here. I like the grass being up here because there aren't any trees on that spot. Goes through here. Comes down here. That's all good. Along here. Sorry. Down here. Yeah, that's all fine. Now just need to quickly do the other side of the tracks. Okay. Mainly just painting underneath some of these lone trees. Just for a bit of variety on the ground. And I'll turn on the light. You know, oddly enough, it feels more like nighttime now for me than it did before. Okay, so just around there. Oh, that looks really good like that. I really like this spot because I don't know what it is about it. I'm just imagining like maybe walnuts or something. If this was a walnut tree, maybe just walnuts falling down onto the ground and just picking them up here. I don't know why, but that's what I imagine when I see this spot. I know, very crucial route building advice. Okay. Now we'll do this area. Up here. Down there. Yeah, and we don't need to have that much detail in where the texture is down here because the player's probably not gonna see it that much. I'll just quickly fill this area, not that big, quickly fill this area in. And we don't have any trees on this side of the tracks. Sorry. So I'll save and then we'll fill in this area of the forest, the side of the valley forest. Okay, just this little bit and we're done on this side. And we're done. Yeah, I like that. I like how this looks. Okay, now we'll do the other side. And here I will go along the inner edge with a bit of a smaller brush, again, because this is the edge that the players will see when they're driving on a session. So it is worth being sort of semi-accurate with where the tree line is. Yeah, and this is, by the way, if you were wondering, this is the part where mastery of the camera comes into play. The reason why I said that is because yeah, it is quite difficult, especially when it's lagging a bit, because I'm streaming at the same time. That was a mistake. I'm streaming at the same time, so it does take quite a bit of concentration. Okay, I'll drop off for a point, so for an undo point. And there we go. Now how does that look? Quick check. We could use a bit less over here. Bit less over here. A bit more over here. Sorry. A bit more over here. Maybe not that much. Maybe just in this area. Okay. We'll go down here. This is a bit flat, so maybe just adding a bit more sort of jaggediness, if that's a word, in here. Grass there. Well, not that much. I didn't want it underneath the trees, just heading towards the trees. Sorry. And yeah, I think that that's a good forest line. So that's the fact that we need to make sure that this kind of fits in a bit better like that. Now I'll save, and then we'll just need to fill in this area. Is that, yeah, it is all the way. And with this, even though I didn't place any trees behind here, I am going to paint it, simply because if the player looks at the map, it will look like this is all forest, which if I left it grass, it wouldn't, for obvious reasons. Okay, I'll drop off for another undo point. Okay, now I just need to fill this area in. It would be so nice if you could actually zoom this far out, so having the camera this far up without needing to put it on a mountain. But that's not in Trainz. Like I said last stream, in fact. Okay. And yes, you could use copy and paste for this, and that might actually make it a bit quicker if you don't need to be precise. So I'll actually give that a try. Just copying and pasting the texture. And yes, it's probably quicker, but there are those stutters every time you paste terrain data. I'm not sure if you can actually see these stutters on the stream or not, but for me it stutters every time I paste. And that's that done. So what does it look like? Okay, so let's just imagine we're coming in like this. There's a valley, opens up, carrying along here, going along, going around the corner, coming in here, and then going along this edge. Yeah, it looks good, but we do need some more variety in the grass texture, because at the moment it's quite boring and the pattern is quite repetitive. So just go ahead and grab our darker grass texture from over here. I'll use a bit of a smaller brush size. Oh no, maybe not that small. Maybe like this. And I'll just paint in some areas of darker grass, maybe where the ground is moister. Okay, maybe go all the way back there. Maybe sort of in there. In here, definitely. I'm trying to keep with the flow of the terrain, well, roughly. Okay, maybe going up here a bit more, curving around here. Now how does that look from up here? Well, it looks okay, but these cut out bits are too big. Still a little big. Maybe we don't really need them that much. Does that look better? Yes, that looks much better. Go along there. Okay. Now let's see. Yeah, that looks good. Kind of, I think. Maybe it's... You see, from here, from this angle, it looks fine. It looks like, okay, this is in the in the lower part where the water gathers. And this is the drier slope up to the tracks. But if you look at it from where the driver's actually got to see it, it doesn't look that great. Sorry. So I think I'll just fill this area in, actually, mostly. Because in the end, the driver's point of view is what matters. Maybe we can end this big area sort of around there. A bit closer. Yes, that looks much better. I think. Yeah, now I'm not sure. I think I'll undo it, leave it as grass. So like this, maybe not quite this much, but maybe just like that. And then we can revisit it later when there are some more splines and when there's any splines in place, and maybe it will look different. Okay, so we're going in here. Now in this place, Well, there should definitely be some down here. Maybe going behind here to emphasize the hill that's right here so you can more clearly see it. Sorry. That looks good. Now over here, I think same thing. We just kind of keep it down here. Maybe have this go around here. I'll just save. Now, do we want any of the taller grass along this sort of plateau here? I don't think so. I think we'll maybe put some a third grass texture, because I think in this area we kind of need 3 grass textures, simply because there's just so much grass. We need the variety. Okay, and here you can kind of get a bit broader again. Now, how does it look from the tracks? Let's see. I think it should be connected down here. Seeing it from up here now. So we'll carry on. Pardon me. Carry on. Maybe connect this just very gently. Go along there. Yeah, that looks good. From here, I think now that we can see the other end, they should really be connected. And so should this. Carries on, carries on. That's fine. Sorry. This one maybe should be connected. Just gently. No, that's too much. Maybe just like this. Same as this one. Now, what has that done to our view of the valley like this? Well, it looks good. Now, if we look at it from the map, well, it looks really good. Like it looks almost like muddy water. Now, let's see. I do have a bit lighter texture here. Yes, this is the lighter one. It's basically the same texture, only a bit yellower. So you can kind of sprinkle this in along the edges to create a bit more variation. Too much. Yeah, you do need to be careful with it, not to use it too much. I'm actually going to increase the brush size a little, just so that I can move the mouse pointer more quickly, so that I can get a lower opacity. Now let's see. How's that? That's too much. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? It kind of just adds a bit more texture to the texture. It's not just all the same pattern, even though technically it is the same pattern, just a different color of the pattern. A bit much, maybe. Although, I think that's okay. Just need this area here. What if we change the angle of the texture here? In fact, maybe over there as well. I think that adds a lot. Well, maybe we should have been doing this the whole time, breaking up the pattern of the texture as well. We are adding quite a lot of yellow now in this area, but it's okay because it is kind of early autumn in the route. So a bit of drier grass isn't going to look very out of place. So just like that. I think it looks good. Although, before I add the splines, how about we just go drive something up it? I think that's a good idea. So I do have actually a set of F7s here. And I'll quickly open up the stream just so that I can see whether this is too loud or not. Sorry. Oh. That is not the channel. 1 second. I'll zoom out now. It's not the channel. 1 second. I'll zoom out. Test, voice test, voice test. 1 second. Test, voice test, voice test. I think it's okay. So, actually these are placed on the root layer. Actually, we'll leave them there for now. Quick drive. Okay, and these are quite nice. I'm thinking I might reskin them if I get permission from the author, because this route will be put up for sale if it's if it's good enough when it's finished. So I would need permission. So let's see. The inside looks like this. It's just the standard old F7 interior. Sorry, that's been part of Trainz for a very, very, very long time. I'll just switch the junction from the map view. And because this is TRS-19, at the bottom of the screen you can see, like in Train Simulator, the gradient of the curve, the little map. And I'm doing this mainly just to get a feel for how long it takes to go up there, and sorry, and to get a feeling for how long it is as well, so in terms of distance. And here the speed limit is actually 35. It just says 40 because, well, we didn't go past a speed sign for it to update. Oh, and that's another thing they changed. It used to be that if you're in camera 2 mode like this, and then you wanted the train to do a drive-by, you could just press 4, and the camera would stay where it was, so that you could get the angle that you want. But they changed it so that the camera now, if you press 4, just pitches upwards like that, which I don't know why they removed that feature, because it was very useful, but they did. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about, the tree cam. Oh, we're going too fast. I'll apply a little bit of the independent. Okay. In Trainz, I find that the independent brake usually applies a lot quicker and releases a lot quicker than the train brake for some reason. Even if you don't have a car of Trainz, that would take time to apply each car. Sorry. Okay, so we're coming up to our cut. You see, this is the sort of thing that I love about Trainz route building, because originally this track was just meant to curve around the hillside, and then because just because the terrain happened to be a bit more elevated, I got the idea to make a cut there, and now it's a landmark. Okay, so that was about 3 miles, just under 3 miles, from where we started to where we are now. Which means that it might be time to have another passing track. Pardon me. Anyway, yeah, we should do the splines first before we start expanding the route further. Okay, so I'll just do the splines on the track side here first. Yeah, I'll just quickly do them. Okay. Now, should we add splines all the way to the tracks, or is this good? I think this is good, because the grass should kind of emphasize where the tree line is, in a way. And it should also kind of hide the transition between the grass texture and the forest texture. Now let's see. Now in this case, where the trees go all the way up to the to the tracks, I think it's good to have the grass close as well. Maybe add another layer of grass behind this here, because it's so close. Sorry. Okay, so now we're at the cut. 1 second. So this is good. Now let's see. Can you see the grass from up here? Not down here. Not really. I think the grass needs to be a bit closer to the edge. Maybe even overlapping the edge a bit. Just so that you can see it a bit more, but you can't really see it. Because it's so steep. Well, it's okay. I'll just save. Okay, so now let's have a look if there are any obvious areas where we need to fix the grass. Well, we need a bit more behind here, for one thing. Just where we can see the slope going up. So like this. And if you're wondering why I keep switching over to a different tab whenever I'm looking at what I've done either from paint mode or spline mode, that's just to hide either the brush or the spline points, because I've changed the settings so that the spline points are only displayed when the tool is selected, or the tab is open, I mean. So if I open a different tab and then close it, they're hidden. I think it's fine here. A bit more here. A bit more here. That's okay. Good, so now I'll do the other side, and I'll do it from the same side just so that the sunlight is in the right direction, because as you can see from this angle everything looks kind of dark. Sorry. Now how far along should I put the grass? I'm thinking maybe along here still, but then maybe stop there, because adding the splines all along here with the additional splines on the ground here, maybe it's too much, although then again I'm not sure, because it is quite open. Okay, well, let's do an example. Sorry. I'll just add some grass over here, and let's see if that helps any. So does this look better over there? I mean, from this angle it does when it's bright, but from this angle I don't think so. I mean, maybe a bit. I'll leave it for now, and then maybe later we can come back to this area and add some grass there if we've still got the performance for it. Sorry. So now what's left is to add some grass to our taller grass areas, like we did in previous stream. So kind of just in some of the spots here. It doesn't need to all be splines. Yeah, okay. Maybe another little spot here. Okay, so here I'll put the grass around the hill there. Sorry, because if you remember from the track side, you can see that this is kind of half obscured behind the hill, and if we have the grass cut off as well, you can more clearly see the angle of the hill, or that there is even a hill there. save. Yeah, we do need a little bit here, maybe like that. Okay, so I'll just quickly do sorry, I'll just quickly do the check it to see what it looks like, actually from this side as well. So does that look okay? Yes, looks good. Down here looks good as well. Now from the other side, up. Yeah, that looks good. So now we just need to do the grass on this side of the track. Sorry. And for that, I'll go back to the other side. Again, just so that the sunlight is on the right side. Okay, we don't really need any grass along here, but we do here. Sorry. So let's see. I think we could get the grass a little bit closer to the edge here, just so it's more visible from below. Hasn't really done anything, so I'll undo that. So how does that look? Looks good. Okay, so now we just need to do some some final bits of grass under these trees here. Oh, that's too close. So I'll just add a spline point and move it a bit further away. Actually, no, I'll delete the spline point because I kind of like the pattern of where the tree was in relation to the grass, so that the tree was kind of in the middle of the grass here rather than in the sort of indented bit, if that makes sense. Okay, so I think that finishes this valley for the moment, this area we've built up. So now let's think about the passing track. So if this is quite a busy area, it might be worth having one passing track and another siding as well. So we could have 3 tracks, and this could then also be a looping area, a crew change area. So maybe if long trains come in, they have to split the train, so they pull in, put half of the train there, and pull back out and put half of the other train in the other siding. That could be interesting. So let's do that. I'll just add some more baseboards. I think let's go 2 at a time. Sorry. Now, where was the track I used before? I think it was a Trainz something. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just use this one. Although this one is procedural track. Nope. Oh, no, that's procedural. 1 second, I'll get started. Sorry, when I actually have a track. Oh, what's this? Sorry, a message just come up. Nothing important. That's okay. Oh, I'll just search for Trainz. Oh, apparently it wasn't Trainz then. Oh, it doesn't matter, I'll just use this one. No, I'll use a TB track instead. They're good. They are seasonal assets, and this is not a seasonal route, but they're good. So, should this be on a gradient? What's the gradient at the moment? What did we say? No, that's the wrong tool. This is the right tool. 1.7%. If we do want the trains to be able to split here, then that means that the locomotives need to be able to push half the train back up the hill from a standstill. So, I think we need to lower this gradient a bit to maybe just 1%. I mean, 1% is even quite steep for this. Maybe 0.9%. So let's see, how do we want to do this? We need a bit of area. Well, actually, I'll have a look at the map first. So, we've got the lower track going down there, which is then going to continue straight along the valley here, going uphill slightly, and then this one is going up here, and then we want the two to meet up at some point down the line, literally in this case. I think that's the first time I've used that sentence literally. Anyway, yeah, so this one, the top one, could either go straight ahead and then go to some industries over here, or we could go around another curve and go back north and then west again. I think that's a better idea. It's going to make the scenery more interesting as well, because then you'd be able to see the track curving out in the distance from here. Sorry, just... So, in this case, I think we need a bit of area here to flatten out. Then we need a small straight bit, which is where the tracks are going to connect to where the junction's going to be. Maybe not at quite at that angle. maybe like that. And then we'll continue. And this is where the curve will start, kind of around there-ish. And then maybe sort of northwest. So like here. And then we'll have a straight piece just heading out there. We'll just change the angle of the curve. Now does that look good from the map? And it's a bit hard to see, but yes it does. So this is going to be our siding. Quite a long siding. We'll need to have some really long trains along here if they are going to split the train, or going to need to split the train. So let's see. How do I want to do this? Okay, I'll flatten the terrain to the track first, so that I know where so it's more easier to place the parallel tracks. Sorry. Okay. So first here. And I kind of want these parallel tracks to be, let's see, do I want them to be on the inside or outside? I'm thinking outside. So about to there. Which means that basically when doing this, I'm trying to make it so that the sort of edge of the spline point or vertex circle is just touching the rail of the other track. Just to make sure that they're at the same distance along the way from each other, I mean. Okay, then we'll go to about here. Pardon me. Then go in there. And we do need a few sort of straight bits here. Actually no, I'll put it, actually no, I think I'll just put it in this one. I'm trying to line it so that the distance will be the same. Sorry. Now it is getting a bit closer here, I think, or maybe they're just at slightly different heights. So yeah, they are at slightly different heights. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that these are at the same height. And then I'll just remove the gradient from these spline points just to get them down to the same height as the other track. And then I'll add it back. So now the gradient should be the same on this end, and I'll do the same here. Now, as for the third track, is it necessary? because for as interesting as it would be, I think that this siding is probably long enough to support most trains going along here, although that being said, I'm not sure now. Maybe we'll just add it. Maybe it won't get used. I'm just flattening here so that I have a point where I can make the siding from. Just make sure that these junctions are smooth enough. Maybe this one a bit longer. Yeah, like that. Maybe that's a bit too much. Sorry. Maybe just a slight bit further inwards. Like this. Okay, that's good. I'll just copy the vertex side here and set it there as well. So they're all at the same height. Then we'll do the thing here. And that looks pretty good. Sorry. Okay, so now what? Well, let's do the trackside object. Well, no. I would do the trackside objects, but this is just a placeholder track. If you remember, we're actually using this track. It's just because we're just using it because of the lodding. So I'm not sure if, although they shouldn't be replaced if I replace the track because they're different assets. So okay, yeah, well let's go ahead and let's do the trackside objects. So I'll start by removing the junctions because I'm using a different junction lever or lever, depending on where you are. I'll just go pick it from an already existing junction. Just place these down. Actually, maybe we could use a yard one here, because this is not the main line. Huh. Yeah, there should be other versions because... Oh no, this is the right one. I'm looking because the little light on the actual lever, it should, when the junction is set to go straight, it should be green. When the junction is set to diverge, it should be red or yellow in this case. And if you turn the actual asset, if you flip it, if you rotate it, then this changes. So yeah, I was looking for the one that was turned the right way. Sorry. And here we need the first one again. No, we don't actually, because it's right, because it was turned the wrong way. And here we'll go back to the mainline lever. We need to go put it over here. Those are the levers done, so now we just need to put in some signaling. So for this I'll just go to my pick list. Milton Valley Railroad. Now let's see. Should I put a signal on the outside here? Turn the other way. Could Trainz become stuck if it's like this? So this one's red, so the other one would be yellow, so yes they could. Because Trainz could come in and block all three tracks here, wanting to come this way, while another train proceeds to this one, and then they could block each other. It's very unlikely, but still I am going to put the signals rather before the junctions. And actually I'm going to use dwarf signals for this. So is that the right one? Got a tall one. And we've got a double-headed one. I think for the main line I'm going to use the double-headed one. But for the sidings I'm going to stick with the simple one. And this is mainly based on what I think looks good. I know that the other one, the double-headed one, gives more information about the condition of the signal ahead, or signal set, yeah, and what speed you can go through. I'm not sure if the trains and the sidings should technically also get that information if this is needed at this point, but my thinking is, my thinking is that the trains on the main line are going to be coming through here at speed, so they are going to likely need this more than trains that are stopped and that are only just picking up speed. And that's actually an important thing. I've just remembered I need to actually put speed boards here. So the speed the speed limit was 35 miles an hour going onto the main line, so going onto here. And how fast should we have it along there? I was thinking maybe 10 miles an hour, but this is quite a long way. So maybe let's do 15 miles an hour. Okay, now let's just do the other end. And 35 miles an hour. That's the wrong one. This one. There. So 15 this way, and 35 the other. And I am actually going to just pick the sorry, the invisible speed signs, and this is because I usually place these either end of mainline sidings where I don't actually place a speed board, simply because if I have a session that starts a train here, then it will always pick the default speed of 40 miles an hour, even if the actual track speed is different. Sorry. And so, yeah, that's why I put these invisible speed limits here, so that it will automatically update the speed limit as soon as the siding is exited, even if there isn't an actual speed board here. And I actually need to do this on the other sidings as well. I'll just quickly do this down here. Okay, so now if we go up here, I think those are all the trackside objects we need. So, well, let's see. We've got about 8 minutes left, so I guess we can start with the terraforming. So yeah, we'll need to get the bottom of the valley height and sort of have this come around here, and then maybe get a bit narrower up here, because we do want the player to be able to look around the corner of this valley to see the track on the other side. So we can't have the slope coming all the way in here. Okay. Oh, something happened here? What happened? Ah, I see. I didn't fix the height of this spline point, apparently. Good thing to have noticed. Also, we'll need a road connecting this place. Again, it could just be a dirt track, and probably will just be a dirt track, but we still need a path for it to go. So we could either have it go uphill and away from the tracks, so going up over there, which could be good, or we could have it going downhill and then through the valley, or maybe downhill and then up the other side of the hill. Maybe that could look nice, so we can see the road on the opposite side of the slope. Or maybe the road just accompanies the track down this way, so that the track and the road are going side by side until we get to the next town or something. That's probably the best option, because one, it makes sense if you've already made an alteration in the terrain for the tracks, then you might as well put the road there as well. Also, it adds variety for the player. I'll just save. Okay. I think that's good enough for the slope at the moment. Sorry. I know I said that's good enough for the slope at the moment, and then I'm just continuing working on the slope. But I do think that, 1 second, I do think that's good enough for the slope. So, now should we do it this side first or that side? Well, we only have 4 minutes left, so I think this side first. Pardon me. Okay, so this peak, if it's narrowing down again, I think we should maybe make this come all the way up to here. So if the valley really narrows down, which I think this might. I should have used the set height tool for this, I realize. just save, and then let's get started. So this comes down here.